Caught you again. Caught you again. Ha ha ha. But would you be kind enough to do a reading?
Yes, I am going to be kind enough. If you would be kind enough to bear with me.
Certainly, I'll let you
during the
set up.
course of this reading.
Okay.
We are beginning to get into the more, okay, let me put it this way. In conversation with a couple of our friends, this couple, we know, I'm not going to mention their names, they said, wait a minute, Odie, wait a minute. Let's get something straight here. You're trying to tell us that maybe we came in on the story late, but you're trying to tell us that this guy that you're talking about, what's his name? Kojo? Okay. I know a Kojo or two, and Kojos don't make deals with snakes. Okay. So you don't know this Kojo.
Hello.
This Kojo didn't set out initially to make a deal with a snake or anything else, but he wants to get funding in order to do his film. All filmmakers, whether they want to admit it or not, want to get the funding to do that. So, in addition to that, I'm not going to try to promote a rock-hard case that you could take to the Supreme Court about whether or not it's legitimate or legal to make a deal with a snake. All I can tell you is that if you went to Ghana or New York or Kansas City or New Orleans, especially New Orleans, or Ontario, Canada, or Sofia, Bulgaria, or Copenhagen, Denmark, you might run into some people or a person who would be able to help you get what you wanted if you were willing to give them what they wanted. I hope I've made, for example, let's say that Putin was a snake. And we have a guy who lives in a place in the United States called the White House. And he wanted something. And he went to the snake and said, hey, look, man, I want to, I mean, not hey, man, but hey, snake, there's something I want to get. Can you help me get it? And the snake says, well, yeah, if you give me what I want. And they make a deal. So now what is the deal? We don't know what the deal is because you keep things like that secret. Having said that, let me go on to chapter 17, I believe it is. Yes, 17.
Okay.
I'm going to do 17 and 18.
Oh my.
Yes, because I'm trying to get to the juicy part, which is right now.
The juicy part, okay. Let's see here.
Akuzwa checked the calendar next to his desk. Kojo, what date are we having the preview? The 15th. Charley Bascom had insisted on at least one preview. Kojo, come on, give me a break for God's sake. I'm the distribution guy of the decade. You're getting the lion's share of the percentages. You have to give me a preview, an idea of what's going to make or break us in Granddaddy's eyes. My grandfather's eyes, Charlie. That's the title, okay? Sorry, big guy, no need to get testy about it. They did yin-yang about the location for the preview. Kojo wanted Leimert Park, the theater complex in Leimert Park. Bascom wanted a traditional Pasadena preview. Bascom won by reminding Kojo, Kojo, look, I think we can make book on your own people digging eyes. It's these other folks we have to worry about. What kind of crossover audience is this thing likely to draw? You know what I'm saying? This is pre-plague, pre-virus.
Oh my God.
The preview audience was composed of industry professionals, invited guests, and people had heard the buzz and decided to sneak a peek at my grandfather's eyes. Charley Bascom's people were scattered strategically in the audience. Bascom wanted to make certain, beyond the opinion cards, that he was made aware of unusual laugh spots, where sad angles intruded. What effect a basically African-American story would have on a primarily white audience. The cast and crew of our production company formed a tight core in the center of the theater audience. They seemed to be saying, with their circle the wagons attitude, "We did it, now come on and get us." For the first 10 minutes, Kojo felt like a man holding his breath under an iceberg. Akuzwa started his breathing back to normal by grasping his hand. Yes, it was happening. They had put the far-reaching vision of the old man's eyes on film. The ways he looked at the world became more than a peek through one pair of glasses. There were facets, sections that were African-American cubistic. They had created a work of art on film without any artsy-craftsy pretensions. And the musical score that Juna and the Earth One group played glued it all together. Music can do that.
Yes. Well, you know, the silent movies, you know, you had a good organist, the silent movie would have been less without a great organ.
That's a point. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, the film came to an end, technically. But it was obvious to all of those present that the ending was really just the beginning. A strong point that Kojo wanted to make. The audience, led by our production people, applauded long and hard. Charley Bascom gave Kojo 2 thumbs up. But more importantly, Grandfather Kwame Brown had a smile on his face.
Nice.
Boy, didn't do too bad. Kind of like that.
That's my grandson.
That's my grandson. Yeah, I'm his grandfather. The word was out. A day later, the trades were heralding a latter-day Spike Lee. They really bugged me with this stuff. Why can't they accept Kojo BEdiako Brown for who he is and Spike Lee for who he was? Why must they always pigeonhole us? You know why. But be cool, sweetheart. You don't want to angry up your amniotic fluid. We only got a few more weeks to go, right? About 3 to be exact. So, be cool. Let them say what they feel comfortable saying. We know what the real deal is.
There you go.
Sunday afternoon in the Brown house. A dozen calls to deal with. More details to be ironed out. The business of the business couldn't be ignored. Kojo, Jackie wants to set up a press conference in Chicago for the opening there. Are you game? That's next month. Sorry, too close to your time. This is a first for both of us, and I'm determined to be on the scene when your opening takes place. More details.
Well said.
No pun intended. Juna calls. She's having second thoughts about the last 42 seconds of music in the film. What kind of second thoughts? They're not really second thoughts. She's just on an anxiety trip. Cool out, I beg you. No problem. Did you read the Times Review? I glanced at it. Well, I don't want to burden you with the whole thing, comparing you to Buñuel, Cocteau, Gordon Parks, and Fellini.
Fellini.
What he does get to is this: rarely, if ever, do we find ourselves faced with a true trace of Afrocentricity, which means that a creative person of African descent has traced his root lines to a primeval source, etc., blah, 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 blah. Crazy, huh?
Right.
Yeah, you know, I think it drives some people, some white people crazy, and some black people nuts, when they realize after all these years of cultural imperialism and other kinds of whippings, that we ain't them and we ain't about to become them. You do sense a little hysteria there, don't you? An hour later, after talking to 4 members of our production company, Juna, don't worry, everything is fine. Okuzwa will be talking with you about this tomorrow. Are you sure? Definitely. What time? In the afternoon. What a worrywart she is. Breaking away from the track for a couple of hours, Kojo selected Mississippi Masala from his collection, settled down for 90 minutes of one Indian director's idea of what Indian African-American relations might have been way back then. Not bad at all. I don't believe it, but it was nicely done. Denzel was his usual good acting self, and the Indian girl with the luscious lips and wild hair made a suitable sex partner. He was tempted to put on one of his Cary Grant movies on, decided not to, poured himself a goblet of San Antonio Red, and drifted out into the backyard feeling egotistical. We got a hell of a film in our hands. A hell of a film. He sat on the porch steps, leaned back, sipping his wine, and tried to see into the future. The spiraling piece of thick black and green stripe coiled 20 yards away from him. Kojo felt a sudden chill. Now what? The snake slithered away. Kojo stared at the slight impression the snake had made in the grass. Now what? What do I do about this? Talk to Granddad? Yeah, he would understand, but how could I even begin to tell him about this madness? A Kuzwa? No, never. She would feel used. I think I'd feel the same way if someone told me that they married me because they'd made some sort of supernatural deal. He wrote mentally, scratched off a half dozen names, friends. No, I can't take them. I can't put this burden on them. This is on me. Monday morning, Capoeira workout time. Cool, how do you feel? Oh, just a little green about the gills, but not bad. Anything I can get you before I make my run? It would be great if you could fast forward this event for me. They shared a big smile. I wish I could, sweetheart, I wish I could. He leaned over and kissed her gently. I won't be long. I just felt an urge to go up to the bridle path this morning. A final wave, and off to Griffith Park, 7:30 a.m., the prelude to heavy traffic. Kojo joined the building flow of vehicles heading north on Riverside Drive, pleased that he wasn't a daily member of the morning-evening migration, that he didn't have to pay dues to the clock. Kojo, whatever you do, stay out of the herd. Once you become a labor unit, you're dead. You'll be working your life away instead of doing your life's work. Thanks, Dad. That was the best piece of advice you've ever given me. He glanced at the man in the next lane, biting his nails. The woman talking on her cell phone and doing her makeup. The aura of tension evident beyond the steel frames of their vehicles. Impatient drivers blew their horns, changed lanes, and cursed other drivers. The streets were electric with hostile vibes. Kojo released a pent-up sigh as he drove into the park. Thank God I'm out of that madness for a moment. He drove slowly up the winding avenue, enjoying the great green trees, smiled at the chubby joggers struggling up the slight incline into the heart of the park. Poor babies. You gotta give it to them for getting out here to make the effort. Power walkers, joggers, people doing the cardio thing to try to stay healthy. He parked, did a brief warm-up, and started his run on the bridle path. He felt strong, full of energy, Damn, it feels good to be in good shape. He fell into a comfortable groove, running easily, using his run as a sightseeing tour. The morning golfers were there, people with their dogs, horsey types bouncing along in their thoroughbreds. That always knocked me out. After the 5-minute run, breathing easily, he decided to drive to the backside of the park, the place where he and Akuzwa did their picnics. A couple of men with guitars sat on a picnic table 100 yards over there. Good. They have their things to do when I have my thing to do. Capoeira alone. Shadow movements. The ginga. That basic dance step that has so many variations. Bangson. The front blessing kick. Merdu compas. The spinning half-moon compass kick. And awoo, awoo, awoo. The cartwheel somersault. 30 minutes later, he wandered over to a picnic table and sat down, a bit sweaty, but feeling good. He took casual notice of the tree limbs scattered around. There's trimming dead weird wood from the trees. Beautiful spring day in Southern California. He did a slow pan of the green hillsides, the woods atmosphere. Hard to believe that we're in the middle of a big, nasty city. It seemed to be one of the dead limbs until the familiar green and black shape slithered toward him. Kojo froze, feeling scared of this horrible thing that Asiafo had put into his life. The snake coiled 10 yards in front of him, flicking his forked tongue out and in and out. Aid me. The rasping voice grated in his ears. I've already fed you. Feed me. The same rasping sound, like hard scales being scraped against metal. Kojo felt the perspiration trickle under his armpits. He made a quick decision. I have to do what he wants if I want to keep the flow going. Remember what happened the last time. I'm too deeply in the game to back out now. He felt the words struggle out of his throat, felt himself choking. Feed you what and where? The snake made a dancing movement with his head. Your firstborn. Here. Next month. Kojo leaped from the table, grabbed a length of dead tree limb and began to beat the snake to death. Heavy, methodical blows up and down the body of the snake. He felt mad and nauseous, as though he wanted to take revenge on the snake for all of the bad feelings he had caused him. He pounded the snake into a long, bloody pulp. The guitar players ran to his side. Wow, what happened, man? Did it attack you? Yeah, it attacked me. He threw the tree limb away and walked slowly to his car, pausing to vomit en route. It took a great effort to keep him from cracking up after the episode in the park. He was disturbed and nervous. Akuzwa noticed it, talked about him with her mother and mother-in-law. You should see this man. He's a bundle of nerves, and you think he was having the baby. Kojo felt compelled to do all the things he had to do. Attend the meetings, discuss the publicity campaign for the film, deal with people and circumstances. But he did it mechanically, like a blind man on a treadmill with no possibility of getting off. He nursed the secret feeling that something dreadful was going to happen to him, or Akuzwa, or the baby. He spent hours at the beach staring at the waves, waiting for something terrible to happen, for some sign. Akuzwa tried to pull him out of his doldrums. Come on, Mr. Creepy. Let's go for a picnic in the park. The idea of going to the park made his stomach churn. Why not the beach? We haven't done a picnic at the beach in a while. Suits me, but I won't be able to wear my bikini. Don't worry about it. The letter came to his post office box 3 days after a false baby arrival alarm. It was from Grace. And he made a mental note to talk with Akuzwa about his ex-girlfriend in the motherland. She's a sweet sister, but I don't think she would like for this correspondence to continue. I don't think I would dig it if she was receiving letters from an old flame. We sat on the back steps to read Grace's letter. Dear Kojo, long time, eh? I hope all is going well with you and your work. I am doing well and trying to do better. But as you know, in Ghana here, one must be careful not to cause too much envy. You recall what degree they will give me? It is called PhD. Pull her down. From this point on, I will limit my correspondence to Christmas cards. Why? Well, I started thinking how I would feel if you were my husband and you were receiving letters from some woman in Africa. I hope you can appreciate my feelings about this matter. Kojo paused and stared up at the clouds for a beat. God, I wish I had married both of them. Now then, the news, as they say on the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. I went to visit Aunt Eugenia. She thanked you for the CDs. And she told last week, and she was full of news. The most devastating bit of news concerned that wild man of the forest, Asiafo, the one you made your deal with. He was found dead in the forest, his skull crushed. There's great suspicion, according to Auntie, that he was killed by members of a family who suspected him of having a romance with the youngest daughter of the family. Of course, the police were called and they found nothing, nor did they find a person or persons who murdered Asiafo. The consensus seemed to be good riddance. I must say to you honestly, I was a bit surprised when you spoke of your deal with this man. I couldn't come out openly and say to you, Kojo, I think it's rubbish because you seem so totally taken in by the possibilities that were being offered to you. Well, in any case, at the end of the day, I should like to suggest that whatever obligations that were imposed on you should be considered null and void. The man is dead. As the proverb says, what sense does it make to put chop in a dead man's mouth? Kojo felt the tears sliding down his cheeks before he realized he was crying. All of the weeks of tension, of feeling sick of the deal and the terms he had to meet, began to flow out of him. I will be traveling to Cuba and possibly the United States next year. Perhaps we could make arrangements to meet and do lunch, as you chaps say in Hollywood. To then, all my best, Grace. He folded the letter and pushed it down into his shirt pocket. I'm free. I don't have to feed that damn snake anymore. He shook his head, trying to reason with himself. Was I hallucinating? Did I actually make sacrifices to a snake? Have I been successful so far because of the deal? What now? What day was it that Asiafo had his skull crushed? I have to write Grace and find out. More speculation were canceled out by an urgent call from the upstairs bedroom. Kojo? Yes? I hate to disturb you, but I think it's time for us to go to the hospital right now. I think I'm going to leave this right there because the next chapter is a bit longish.
Okay,
and
so
it has a lot of other stuff in it that is going to be reflective of what has happened.
Okay.
That'll be chapter 18.
Okay,
So I'm stopping at chapter.
So you read chapter 17?
Yes.
Chapter 17 of what book?
Of this book right here, The Snake Doctor.
The Snake Doctor.
You see it?
I see it. There you go. Thank you very much for turning it right side up. Aha. Yes.
Little snake got at me there.
Aha. All right, I got it. And so, okay, and then there's you in the background, all covered up.
By yours truly.
Yes.
You.
Photographed by me. This is true. Indeed, the book can be purchased at Author House, Author House, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or at your local bookstore. go in and say, I want a copy of The Snake Doctor by Odie Hawkins. All right?
Oh.
And I think that that will be about
Do
it.
it for the day.
Your website is www.odiehawkins.com. You are also on the author's page on Amazon. And one can Google Odie Hawkins, O-D-I-E Hawkins, and see many videos, etc., etc., etc.
Too bad I don't have a larger ego. You know how people
Okay, all right.
you pronounce their names and they say it over and over and over again. It kind of gets to me.
This is.
Maybe I was raised.
You were raised different. That's
Yeah.
okay.
You know, y'all.
With that
How do you mean that?
With that said,
Raised different.
we will.
I'm gonna tell my mama.
Bless her spirit.
I wouldn't tell my father because he
Bless her
would say,
spirit. Bless
"Oh,
her
baby,
spirit.
just go ahead and say whatever you want to say."
Yes. Okay.
So we're trying to bring this to an end, are we?
All right. Yes, indeed.
Well, I'm bringing it to an end right now.
You have to tell your sister Louise on me. Okay.
Okay, all right, I'm with you. Hey, Alfred, listen to her.
Okay. Val and all you great folks.
You
that
too,
are
James.
watching. Okay. All you great folks that are listening and watching. Take care. We will see you again tomorrow.
You better believe it. You might be tonight.